Hi, I'm Lisa Curcio, and I would love to welcome you here to Lisa's Stamp Studio. Today I'm going to teach you how to make an incredibly easy, fun folded hinge card. The best part about this card is you can put that hinge just about anywhere. And I've got several other samples to share with you in addition to the demonstration today. Now you're going to want to grab that free project sheet. That's linked down in the video description for you below. It's going to lead you to the pictures, the cutting dimensions, and the supplies for all the cards that I'm going to share. In addition to that, we want to make sure that you are going to be here in the live chat with us if you are here for the premiere, or perhaps you're watching the replay. We come back and we rate every single comment, and if you're here live with us, we would love to interact with you. Log into your YouTube account using your Gmail address. That is required of YouTube in order for you to comment or to chat. Gina, Holly, and I are right now in the live chat with you. In addition to the Stampin' Up! Products that I'm using today, you'll see some additional products, and I have those linked for you on my website under Shop Craft Room Favorites. While they are not Stampin' Up! Products, they help me immensely here in my stamp studio, and I thought that they would help you as well. So they're linked for you there so that you can take a look at them. I'd like to give a big shout out and thank you to our YouTube channel members. You'll recognize them by the crown that's next to their name. For just 99 cents a month, they support me here at Lisa's Stamp Studio. In exchange, they get custom badges by their name. They also get custom emojis to use during the live chat or comments. And they have the opportunity to buy exclusive merchandise that we have designed. If you're wondering what it's all about, click the join button right by today's video. All right, we're ready. Let's get started on today's demonstration. The base of this card is a quarter sheet of cardstock measuring 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm using boho blue. I also cut a piece of designer series paper, and you're going to notice that it's going to be a little bit shorter this way on both ends, and I did that on purpose. Keep in mind, you can size this up however you'd like, but I think the small border will make more sense as we put the card together. I'm going to be using the Precision Glue Press. This is one of those items that's going to be found on my website under Shop Craft Room Favorites. It is not a Stampin' Up! Product, but I absolutely love it because you can see how fine the glue comes out. There is a pink stopper at the bottom of this little holder that puts the needle on top of that little silicone pad that keeps it from drying out. And so many of you have purchased it and tell me how much you love it as well. This specific Easy Fun Fold hinge card is going to need to be assembled from the bottom up. So this is the base of the card. Now we're going to move to the next level. This is going to be the hinge. It is boho blue to match my card base. And keep in mind, you can alternate this and make this another color to coordinate with your designer series paper if you choose. This measures 1 1/2 by 8 1/2. Please keep in mind that I've got all the cutting dimensions for you in that free project sheet that is linked down in the video description below. I'm going to use the Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer, my absolute favorite, beats everything on the market. It includes both a scoring and a cutting blade. They navigate up and down out of the way, and they stay on the track at the exact same time, which means you don't have to mess with taking them in and out. The clear cutting guide is fantastic, and it has an extendable arm that reaches past 17 inches. So if you're doing some scrapbooking and need larger cardstock pieces, or even for larger fun folds, this is a fantastic trimmer. There's a ledge here at the top as well as one at the bottom, and we're going to use that to keep the paper straight. We are going to score this at 4 1/4 inches. I'm making sure the paper is nice and straight here at the top, and then we're going to score. Let's go ahead and fold on that score line, and this is now a great time to make sure that your ends are all nice and even, and then I'm going to go over it with my bone folder to reinforce that score line. You're going to need to determine which way you want the hinge to go on your card. For this specific one that I'm going to demonstrate, I want the hinge at the top. But keep in mind, it can go on the left, the right, or even on the bottom. And that'll make more sense when I share the other samples with you. Since this one is going to go on the top, I need to make sure that I know the direction for any stamping that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to protect my work surface with some grid paper. I'm going to open up the hinge so that I can see where the crease line is. And for this one, I'm going to turn it horizontally just so that I know that it's nice and straight. I'll be using the Umbrella Days bundle for this specific card, and it's the stamps and the coordinating dies. I am falling in love with this because there is so much that you can do with it. You can make the umbrella individually, and you can fill it with flowers, which would be great for showers. It also has some really great encouraging themes, which I absolutely love, and works well mixed and matched with other stamps. But there's also some great accessory images inside the dies. When you buy it as a bundle, you'll get both the dies and the stamps, and you'll save 10%. From the stamp set, I have mounted the raindrops here, and I'm going to be using the coordinating boho blue ink to the cardstock. This is the beauty of Stampin' Up! Products, is the color coordination, which means everything matches and there's no guesswork. I'm going to ink up those raindrops, but I don't want them to be too strong. So I'm going to stamp off a layer of ink on my scratch paper, and I'm going to stamp my raindrops here. Now I'm going to repeat this to fill the top portion of the cardstock. I am not concerned that I'm going over the crease line because remember, this is going to be a hinge and this portion to the left is going to be hidden. Here at the bottom, I need a little bit more raindrops, so I'm going to move my paper over. I'm going to stamp off, and I'm just going to navigate the stamp down. I'm going to do this one more time so we have a little bit of a pattern here at the bottom as well. Now that the hinge is finished, we need to work on the card itself that this will actually go over. So I'm going to put this off to the side, and I'm going to bring in a piece of basic white cardstock. This is labeled as the card inside your project sheet. It's 4 1/4 by 8 1/2. And again, we're going to score it in half at 4 1/4 inches. We're going to fold it in half. We're going to meet up those ends to make sure that they're nice and even. And then once again, we're going to go over it with the bone folder. I chose to cover this with a piece of designer series paper. And I have paper here from the exact same package that we just used. It's called Timeless Plaid. And I have fallen in love with it because there's lots of different color palettes in there. And you can see that it's not really feminine or masculine, which means you can use it for lots and lots of things. And the mix and matching of the patterns for a specific card like this, where you're using multiple pieces of designer series paper, is fantastic. I decided that I wanted my card to open in a certain direction. So in my case, as we've talked about, the hinge is going to open from the top. But to make this interesting, I'm going to flip this so that the crease for the card is going to open to the left. So when we're finished, this will go up and this will open to the left. There is no right or wrong way. Play with it and decide the layout that you want. I'm mentioning it just in case you have designer series paper that has a direction, so that you make sure you establish which side the crease is going to be on before you adhere it. Since this one doesn't, we're going to go ahead and use that precision glue press once again all around the outside edges, and then we are going to go ahead and attach this here to the front. I will mention too that this designer series paper, while in the same package with this one, is a slightly different pattern than the one that's inside your project sheet. So it's going to give you a little bit more ideas. Now that we have this ready, we can take the hinge and we can put these pieces together. In essence, you want to make sure that anything you've stamped is going to be at the front. So I'm going to bring in the silicone craft sheet once again. And I love this product because liquid glue, hot glue, and adhesive will not stick to it. I'm going to take the precision glue press and I'm going to add glue inside my little hinge piece here. And you can see I've got glue on that silicone craft sheet, which is totally fine because it's going to dry and come right off. Making sure that my crease is on the left-hand side, I am going to center this the very best I can. And this is why I love liquid glue, because it's going to allow me a little bit of time to move it from left to right. Once I'm happy with it, we're just going to press that in place. You may have a little sliver of a difference here at the bottom between the hinge and the paper. And if you do, don't panic. That's because of the space needed for the crease here that's going over the top of the card. Now that this is assembled, let's go ahead and come back here to the card base, and this is going to adhere to the top. Again, be cognizant of your direction, and I know I sound like a broken record, but I've made this mistake many times. So from the back side, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add liquid glue around the parameter, and I added a little bit extra up the hinge because I know there's a little bit of a bump there. With it centered on the front of your card, you're looking to align the top and the bottom and try to keep equal space here on the right and left of the card. Once you're happy, give it a good press in place. For this specific one, once it's finished, the hinge should open to the top and then open to the left. Here on the inside, we can do a little bit of stamping. Now, I know there's a little bit of a bump there, and I probably should have done it first, so I'll just beg for forgiveness on that one. But I'm going to go ahead and use some black memento ink, and I've pulled out a greeting from that same Umbrella Days stamp set, and it says, "You are the umbrella to my rainy days." This is going to come together as we finish the front of the card. I'm going to give you lots of decorating ideas, and we're going to stamp that here. I love to keep the scraps of my designer series papers. When I was done cutting this piece, I took one of the scraps, and I'm going to adhere it near the bottom. This is a 1/2 inch. The one inside the project sheet is a little bit wider. I think it's 3/4 of an inch. And once again, we're going to use that precision glue press to add a nice fine layer of glue around here. And then this is going to go here at the very bottom of the inside of the card. Now that this is in place, we're going to go ahead and we're going to close this up and we're going to work on the decoration here for the hinge. I have a scrap piece of basic white cardstock here, and I'm using the black Memento ink once again, and I've pulled out one of the umbrella images. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink that up in the black Memento ink. This is a red rubber stamp versus a clear photopolymer stamp, and I love these for these more detailed images. We're just going to press firmly and then we're going to lift. While we have the stamp out, we're going to use it one more time. I'm going to bring in my scratch paper just in case. And I've got a small scrap here of that designer series paper that we used on the base of the card. I'm going to concentrate now on inking up just the umbrella portion, and we're going to stamp that here. Now, before we put the ink pad away, I want to do one more thing. I need one more image. Now, because there's dies, I can use that same piece of paper, and we're going to ink up that little dog image, and we're going to stamp him here. I chose to color the image using Stampin' Blend's alcohol-based markers. And if you're not familiar with alcohol-based markers, I'm just going to do a very small section of this just to give you an idea on how to use them. The Stampin' Blend's markers come in a 2-pack, a combo. So you're going to get both the light and the dark. They are dual-sided. So you'll notice that one end has a thin line, the other has a thick line on both of the markers. So you can choose which tip you prefer. I went a step further, and Gina and I designed labels for these markers because we were always struggling with trying to find the right color, light or dark, by looking at the barrel. Because some of the colors in the color palette, the cap color is very closely related. And you'll be able to find these labels available for you on my website under Shop Digital Downloads. And they're there for all the Stampin' Up! Colors, including the retired color palette. I prefer to use the lightest color first, and since the area here is very small, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use that chisel tip. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to color in her pants. The secret is allowing this a few seconds for the alcohol base to evaporate before you lay down the next shade. Now, it doesn't matter if you do dark first and then light or dark. That is completely up to you. You're going to experiment and determine what works best for you. I'm going to come in now with the dark shade. And you see the little lines here inside the pant leg? That's just kind of a great hint on where you can put your accent marks. If you don't have those on the stamp that you're using, think of where the light source is coming from. So since the umbrella is here, I'm going to assume that maybe the light or the rain would be coming this way. So that means this side would be darker. So I'm going to go ahead and add more dark color there. The great thing about alcohol-based markers is that they are buildable, which means you can go over them multiple times. Again, the secret is to make sure that the first coat has actually evaporated. The alcohol base is gone, so that it doesn't bleed outside the colored lines. And if this looks to you like it needs a little bit more blending, which it does to me, I'm going to come back to my light, and I'm going to pull the light into the dark area. Now, I did take the liberty of coloring the entire image before you joined me, and that is here. And I also have the dog. Remember the umbrella that we stamped here? We're going to do a little bit of what's called paper piecing. I'm going to be using my paper snips for this. The secret to paper piecing is to make sure that you actually cut right on the stamped line. So I'm going to come in with my scissors right on the outline of the image. And we're going to do this now all the way around. I'm going to eliminate that little stem here at the top for the umbrella. And once you're finished, you're going to have this. We're going to put these pieces together. This is where the paper piecing technique comes into play. Because this is rather small, I'm going to go ahead and use my favorite reversible tweezers. Look at how precision pointy those little tips are. This makes holding things that are very tiny really, really easy. We're going to come back to the precision glue press. I'm going to bring my image here to the silicone craft sheet, and I am going to mimic that area that I cut out. So I'm filling it in with the designer series paper stamped image. It's important that you line it up as well as you can because the outline image here of where you stamped is actually going to show on top of the pattern paper. Now the little dog I thought needed a little coat, and the great thing about the dies is there is one. So I chose the same designer series paper. Again, look how tiny that is, but that precision glue press is a champ for those little small areas. And now I'm going to add the coat to the dog, and we're just going to press that in place. While these are great, I thought our image could use just a little bit more of the accessories that were inside that stamp set. So I'm coming back here to the scratch paper. From the dies, I chose one of the clouds and I die cut it from white cardstock. And I also die cut one of the two options of the puddles. And we're going to do these a little bit differently. I'm using the Light Pool Party Stampin' Blends markers for this. And it doesn't matter which tip you're going to use. That's completely up to you. I'm going to use the brush tip for this. And here on my puddle, I'm just going to hold this on the corner, and I'm very lightly and quickly going around the outside edges of the puddle just to add a little hue of color. For the cloud, I decided to use some smoky slate, and this is the light smoky slate. And the same thing, I'm just going to come around here, and it doesn't matter if you miss some areas or some are heavier than others. It's completely up to you. If you get heavy-handed like I have in some spots, don't fret. That's the beauty of the color lifter. Now the color lifter actually does just that. It lifts color, but it also moves the color. Again, dual-sided, and it is a colorless marker. So this is straight alcohol. I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to rub it over those areas that I think are just too dark. And you're going to see right before your eyes, it's going to start to fade and become lighter because it's lifted some of the hue. And I absolutely love this because there's no mistakes. It just gives credence of shadows. You can do the same thing with the pool party if you choose, if it's too much for you. Keep in mind it's a cloud formation, so light and dark areas are going to be more realistic. Now that we have our pieces, let's come back here to the hinge. And I've got another little trick for you about this card that I can't wait to share with you. I'm coming back to those reversible tweezers, and I'm going to add a little bit of glue here towards the center. That is going to go here at the bottom of the hinge. You'll notice that I was careful not to put glue on either of the tips because I don't want to seal the card. Next, we're going to take our umbrella image and we're going to flip that upside down. I'm going to be using my dimensionals for this, and we're going to add some to the back of the image to balance it carefully for mailing and also to elevate the image. As we get here closer to the bottom, you're going to see that these full-size dimensionals are going to be just too big. So I'm going to bring in some of my mini dimensionals, which you can see are very well loved, and that's going to fit nicely here. And then what we're going to do is remove those paper backings. I'll take the image and I'm going to position her now on top of the puddle. You're going to want to do just like you did with the glue and make sure that the dimensionals are not too far off the edges so that they don't show. You can see I got a little close here, so let me give you an important tip because I'm sure you've done this as well. I'm going to use my silicone craft sheet underneath because I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool with the paper piercing tool attachment. I'm literally going to shave away anything that's going to show. That's going to leave the dimensional intact all the way near the edge, but not be exposed. Now I'm ready to add the clouds. I'm going to flip this over, and because we don't want to get too close to the edges, I'm going to take one of those full-size dimensionals. I'm going to place it here. If you're like me and you're not sure, go ahead and put it on. And you can see that we've got room on either side for a mini dimensional. I'm just going to keep these close together. So I have a little room on either end to make sure that it doesn't show when I lift the hinge. The cloud now will go here at the top of the card. Now you certainly can add a greeting, but I decided to do something different for this one. For this next step, I'm going to grab my favorite craft pencil, and I have this linked for you on my website under Shop Craft Room Favorites. I am going to lightly trace the outside of the hinge, right along the boho blue strip. Traced it so lightly, I am doubtful that it's going to show up on camera very well. But the reason I did that is because I'm going to add another panel here. Now, I did part of this ahead of time since we've already done the stamping of the raindrops, and I chose the word thanks from another stamp set. That stamp set is Wonderful Thoughts, and I like that there's very small greetings in here that will fit on these little narrow areas. Of course, just an image here is totally fine, but we're going to add the dog. Now, before we add the dog, I want to add a little color on where the dog is at. So I'm going to come back to the Light Pool Party Stampin' Blends marker, and I'm going to put him here near the bottom. So I'm just going to create a little bit of a puddle there. If in fact that's too dark, you can go over it with the color lifter once again, and that's going to lighten the shade as the alcohol evaporates. I'm going to take the dog, we're going to flip him upside down. We're going to use mini dimensionals on him since the areas are a lot smaller, and then we'll remove those backings. We'll take the dog now and we'll position him right over the puddle. Now that we have this finished, I know it's going to be difficult to see the pencil lines, but I can see exactly where this needs to go so that this will be hidden once the hinge is closed. So I'm going to take this and flip this upside down and add a light layer of glue around the outside perimeter. This now is going to get adhered within the areas of my pencil mark, making it as straight as possible. Before the glue dries is when I like to come in and like to check to make sure that I have it lined up perfectly. Then I'm going to come in and use the eraser on this craft pencil. This is the best pencil I have ever purchased. The eraser is amazing and the lead is very, very soft, which makes it great for paper crafting. My final step was to add an embellishment. And while there were so many to choose from, I thought I had enough of the blue and enough of the coral going on. So I chose these opal rounds, and I love these because there are some shimmer to them. And I chose the clear ones. So I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm going to pick up the small one. So I'm going to use one of those here, and I'm going to place it down here near the bottom. And I like odd numbers. So I'm going to place 2 there, and I'm going to take another one. I'm going to bring this one up here towards the top. I'm going to make sure that they're stuck in place because they have glue dots already on the back. So this is how the card will work. The hinge will lift. You can add a hidden panel if you'd like, and then the card will open. That strip of Designer Series paper will complement the edges of the paper that you chose for the base of the card. Very, very easy, and there's really no wrong way to fold this. So let me show you some of the other cards that I made for you. The next card is going to be using a bundle called Storybook Garden Patch. Now this also has a sister stamp set to it that I think you're going to love. It has a vintage Peter Rabbit theme. And if you've been here to my channel before, you've seen me use it, but you're going to want to check it out. Again, buy it as a bundle because there's some great accessory dies here. Now I paired this with another bundle as well, and it's called Everyday Arches. Now this is an online exclusive product, so it's available while supplies last. But check out those layering stitch dies and the simple fact that the greetings can be stamped in an arch to fit the various arch that you choose is really, really a great bonus. But I chose a very simple greeting for this next card. I used the coordinating Storybook Moments Designer Series paper, very vintagey. But unlike this card, you're going to see that the hinge is now to this side. And instead of leaving it plain like this one, I created a banner tip using my scissors. I used one of the arches here. I stamped and colored my images using the Stampin' Blends alcohol markers, just like we did here. I stamped my greeting using the Misty Stamp Positioning Tool. It's linked for you down in the video description. It's also on my website under Shop Craft Room Favorites. I love that stamp positioner. Whenever you're going to use a dark or light color on colored cardstock especially, you're going to want to make sure that you can do some repeated attempts over it to get it nice and bold. I created this focal point with some brass butterflies. It's going to open this way, and look, a smaller arch here to house a few more strawberries. It's going to open to the left. And again, I've got my greeting and a little butterfly there and a little piece of Designer Series paper to complement the base of this card. Lots of fun in a different way for the hinge, but I have one more for you. This next one uses the Cake Celebrations bundle. So it's the stamps and the coordinating dies, again, an online exclusive, and great dies because you can create frosting and layers for just about any type of cake, weddings, anniversaries, showers, and of course, birthdays. Now with it, I paired an embossing folder called Metal Plate. It's a 3D folder, so it's nice and thick, but I also used different dies. And the dies are Countryside Corners, another one of my favorites because there are layering sizes. And like the other card, I use those layering dies to my advantage. This time, my hinge is on the left. So top, right, left, and of course you can do even a bottom. But you'll also notice that the card is portrait versus landscape. And I wanted to make sure that you knew that you had tons of options with this easy fun fold. So I embossed the hinge with that embossing folder. And those cake layers, yeah, I turned them into gift boxes. And I used the flowers to be reminiscent of bows. Use that little strip of white here, believe it or not, actually came from the cake dies. There's a little die here that can be used for a layer or a plate, and I just cut it in half and extended it. And where it's connected, you can't even tell because those little faux bows actually cover the area. There's that countryside corner shape. And the great thing about the greetings in this stamp set is that they're buildable. So you can see that they're individual here so that you can create any card of any theme that you choose. This one is going to open up and use the beautiful Friends of the Ocean Designer Series paper, but no ocean theme, right? Stampin' Up's Designer Series paper is themed on one side and more generic on the other, which means you can use it all year round. And unlike these, this one is going to open to the right. So I kept it very simple. I used greetings from another stamp set. This one comes from Sentimental Park. And again, you can build and create custom phrases, which is exactly what I've done here with 2 different color inks. Add a small strip of scrap designer series paper. Used some beautiful iridescent sunny days dots for this card in various colors to pick up the theme. So lots and lots of choices today. As always, I love to know your favorite. Pop down right now in the comments and let me know which of those cards you favor and where will you put your hinge. If you love exclusive card making ideas, I've got you covered with Stamp Studio memberships. Stamp Studio memberships are projects that I design specifically for members. There are 2 levels. There's level 1 and level 2. The best part is, regardless of the level, your project is going to come right to your inbox every Monday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Level 1 is $5 a month and it includes step-by-step instructions, pictures, cutting dimensions, and supplies for that project. But if you'd like a little bit more, a level 2 at $10 a month includes everything in level 1, but also gets you a monthly fun fold project. In addition to that, the pictures are more extensive to help guide you through the fun fold process. You'll also be able to enjoy a discount for my PDF tutorial library, and everybody in level 2 is entered into a monthly product prize giveaway for which we choose 5 winners. You can find all the information on my website under the red menu bar titled Memberships. We would love to have you join us. While you're over on my website, make sure you scroll to the bottom of the page. There's a little area there for you to join my free weekly e-newsletter. I keep you in the know on all the sales and promotions. It's no frills, and I would love also to keep you inspired. So go ahead and fill that out and we can add you to that newsletter. Finally, there are just a few days left in Stampin' Up's largest sale of the year called Celebration. Celebration is a great time for you to scoop up free products in the sale brochure for every $60 product increment before shipping and tax. You can find all the information about the sale over on my website under Shop in the menu. And if this is your first time visiting my channel, I would love to have you subscribe. Click the subscribe button and the bell icon and the word all so that YouTube will send you reminders when I provide new content here on YouTube. I would sure love to include you. And finally, if you have enjoyed today's video, do me a favor and give it a thumbs up here on YouTube, which is a like. It helps me immensely. I am thrilled that you are here with me today, and I look forward to having you join me next time. Have a great day.